She texted you back. It's been 12 minutes since your last message, and now you're doing the thing. Reading it twice, analyzing the punctuation, wondering if the emoji means something, asking your friend what they think it means. Your friend doesn't know either. Nobody taught us how to read this, so we guess, and we get it wrong. Here's what most people don't realize. The way someone texts you reveals a lot more than the words they send. The timing, the length, the effort, the patterns over time, all of it is signal. And once you know what to look for, you'll never have to guess again. This is how to decode her texts and find out if she actually likes you. Before we get into the signals, let's understand why texting is such a reliable window. When we're face-to-face with someone, we have a lot of social pressure to be polite, to respond, to engage. We smile at people we don't particularly like. We reply to people we're not that interested in. Social courtesy masks a lot of how we actually feel. But texting? Texting removes most of that pressure. Nobody is watching you type. Nobody sees you put your phone down. Nobody knows how long you waited before you replied, except the person on the other end. Which means texting behavior is closer to honest behavior than almost anything else we do socially. Researcher Leora Trubb at Pace University found that texting patterns, particularly response time and message length, are strong predictors of emotional investment in a relationship. In other words, how someone texts you reflects how much they're actually thinking about you. So let's decode it. The first thing to look at is response time, but not in the way most people think. Most guys obsess over whether she replied fast or slow. Fast reply, she likes me. Slow reply, she doesn't. But that's too simple, and it leads to a lot of wrong conclusions. Here's what actually matters: consistency and pattern, not speed. Someone who replies within 2 minutes every single time is showing you something real. You're a priority in their day. Someone who sometimes replies in 2 minutes and sometimes takes 2 days is showing you something different. You're not a consistent priority. You're something she engages with when it's convenient. The dangerous zone is inconsistency, because inconsistency creates anxiety, and anxiety can feel like excitement, which is why so many people mistake an inconsistent texter for someone who's playing hard to get, when really they're just not that invested. Watch the pattern over a week, not just one conversation. Consistent fast replies, she's invested. Consistently slow replies, she's politely maintaining contact. Wildly inconsistent replies, pay attention to this one. The second signal is effort, and this one is more reliable than response time. Effort shows up in message length. It shows up in whether she asks you questions back. It shows up in whether she adds details she didn't have to add. Here's the test. You send a message. She replies. Does her reply move the conversation forward, or does it just respond? A reply that just responds, haha, yeah. A reply that moves things forward. Haha, yeah, that happened to me once. Actually, it was way worse. Remind me to tell you. See the difference? The second reply does something the first one doesn't. It invests. It opens a door. It keeps you there. People who like you want to keep you engaged, so they leave threads open. They give you something to respond to. They make the conversation easy to continue. People who are just being polite close threads. Short answers, no questions back, no details. Just enough to not seem rude. The question to ask yourself after every exchange: is she making this easy for me to continue, or am I doing all the work? Here's the signal most guys completely overlook. Who starts the conversations? Not who replies faster, not who sends longer messages. Who picks up their phone, opens the conversation, and sends the first message. Initiation requires something that responding doesn't. It requires you to think of someone when they're not in front of you. To decide, out of everything you could be doing right now, that reaching out to this person is worth the moment. That decision is not a small thing. If she initiates conversations regularly, she's thinking about you when you're not around. There is no clearer signal than that. Now here's the honest check. Scroll back through your last 10 conversations. Who started most of them? If it's almost always you, that's important information. It doesn't necessarily mean she doesn't like you. Some people are just not natural initiators. But combined with short replies and low effort, it paints a clear picture. And if she's initiating regularly? Stop second-guessing yourself. She's thinking about you. Here's a more subtle one that separates the good readers from the great ones. What does she text you about? There's a difference between someone who texts you because something reminded them of you and someone who texts you because they're bored and you're in their contacts. The first type sends things like, "This made me think of you. Remember when you said that thing about, this literally just happened? Okay, you need to watch this." These messages do something specific. They prove she was living her life, and you showed up in it. Uninvited, unprompted, automatically. Because you're already living in her head a little. The second type sends, "Hey!" at 11 p.m. on a Friday. Nothing else. Both are texts. Only one of them means something. Pay attention to whether her messages are specific to you, referencing things only you would understand, calling back to previous conversations, building something that only exists between the two of you. That's not just texting. That's someone building a private world with you, one message at a time. So here's your framework. 4 signals. Each one tells you something. Together, they tell you almost everything. Response time consistency. Is she prioritizing you? Effort and open threads. Is she investing in the conversation? Initiation. Is she thinking about you when you're not around? Context. Are her messages specific to you, or are you just convenient? No single signal is the whole answer, but the pattern across all 4? That's your answer. And here's the thing most people miss. These signals work in both directions. The way you text someone shows them exactly how interested you are. Your response time, your effort, whether you initiate, whether your messages are specific to her or copy-paste energy. She's reading you, too, whether she knows it or not. Now you both know the language. If this gave you clarity on something you've been overthinking, you know what to do. Subscribe to Signal Codes. There's a lot more to decode.